So Emily and I were married in 2002.
Yeah.
We are the proud parents of a boy, Clay, who is 11, and a girl, Grace, who's 9. So we were engaged February 2002, and then married in May. And I kind of thought, okay, this is the beginning of calm and smooth seas and a wonderful life ahead of us of peace and prosperity. And as you can guess, life is not always like that, and that's okay. That's kind of by design. But I didn't realize that there'd be some storms that would come, and Emily can talk a little bit more about those.
In the summer of 2006, I had just had my second child, my daughter. Here's a picture of her birth. And we thought it was going to be a fairly regular summer, so we made plans and started having our basement finished and remodeling our bathrooms. But then, after she was born, I started feeling very nauseated and I couldn't keep any food down. And so we found ourselves in the midst of a very big storm. It was unexpected. It wasn't a storm of the weather. It was a storm of events in life. After a few months of feeling sick and not understanding why, what was the problem, it just continued getting worse and worse, and I went to the emergency room a few times, and there it was discovered that I had a brain tumor. And it looked like the tumor was not cancerous, but it did need to be removed in order for me to live. And the doctors told me that I'd be in the hospital about a week, and I would have my recovery that would last about a month, and after that things would be back to normal. My family did not know it, and I did not at that time, but when I went into the operating room, we were saying goodbye to life as we knew it. Here's a picture of me the night before the surgery. So when I came out of the anesthesia after the surgery, I was completely paralyzed on my left side. I lost all balance, lost most of my coordination, could not speak anymore, I couldn't really see anymore, couldn't write, I couldn't do a lot of things. I couldn't walk or stand, I couldn't even sit up by myself. And so here we were in this unexpected storm, and sometimes it felt like we could barely breathe. We're just trying to come up for air, and the waves of this storm were just beating upon us. And we wondered, how in the world were we going to live life with these challenges? My body no longer cooperated with me. I could think just fine and think out what to say and what to do, but my body would not do it. My 1 week in the hospital turned into 6 weeks, and at that point I was labeled as a fall hazard, and I had to have a nurse with me all the time, and the rails on my bed went up. So here I was. I'd always been a rule follower. I'd always been this, I felt like a straight arrow, and suddenly I had bars on my bed. I couldn't do anything I wanted to do anymore. I had to have what felt like a prison guard watching over me all the time. And so I was very frustrated. And I finally did get to go home, but it was a very rough transition. There were a lot of tears. I did a little unofficial inventory of my identity, what had always made me me. And so I thought, I'd always loved to dance. I danced my entire life, and I obviously couldn't dance anymore. I couldn't even walk anymore. I love to run and to hike. I couldn't do that anymore. I love to talk and to teach. At that time I couldn't do that anymore. I love to read and to write. At that time I couldn't do either of those anymore. And so it felt like so much loss, that I could do nothing, that I was nothing, that I was worthless. But the idea that I was worthless did not sit right with me. I felt sort of like the prophet Enos in the Book of Mormon, in the 3rd verse of his book. It says, "The words of my father sunk deep into my soul." And for 6 years, I stood up in Young Women's and said the Young Women's theme, "We are daughters of our Heavenly Father who loves us." And I believed that I was his daughter and that he loved me, and that I didn't have to do anything to earn that love. I didn't have to prove myself. I was not worthless. I had worth just because I existed, because I was his daughter. And that was a hard concept for me, but also a very sweet concept and a good concept, and I knew it was true. And it made me think what I had experienced wasn't all just loss. I still had my family. I still had my covenants that I had made. I still had my testimony. And I still had all my memories and all the things I had done. And I've learned since that those covenants carry with them a lot of power. And it doesn't matter what you can do. It just matters what Heavenly Father knows is in your heart. So I knew that even though I couldn't do very much, as long as I did my best with what I could do, whether my part was big or small, that Christ would make up the difference. He would make it so that I was enough in all the different roles of my life. Enough as a wife, enough as mom, enough as a daughter and a friend. And it didn't seem like it was possible, but I was grateful. I could trust in that he would help make me enough. And to remind me of this, I had this bracelet made. And we have the picture of it right here. This bracelet is an ID bracelet. I wear it all the time, and instead of having an ID engraved into it, I have the word enough, just to help me remember whenever I have doubts or insecurities. I look down and remember, with Christ, I'm enough. We are all enough.